The order to attack Iran has got to be the biggest blunder in American history. Well, in my lifetime at least, perhaps all of history. And it's so bad that people are in so much shock. Well, so many things haven't happened that they don't even realize it. And I want to tell a story like I've always liked, and maybe part of it's apocryphal, but during the Manhattan Project, when they were building the nuclear bomb, these scientists dropped this plutonium on the floor or whatever, and just for like a minute, and but they all knew what that meant. Like they died, but they went outside. They had a cigarette. It was a beautiful sunny day. I mean, things could not be perfect. Everybody's walking around the camp, but they knew as scientists what would happen. And in the days ahead, they started. Their hair was falling out. They're throwing up blood, and yeah. I think the two of them or most of them died. And that's sort of like it is now. Like this is sort of how I'd equate that in the past couple of weeks, that type of thing has happened for America, and some of us know it, that America is dead, and many don't. They just look outside. They go on as life as usual. Sun is shining. They don't really get it. Anyway, I'm a minute in, and I do want to get focused on the predictions of what I see for the next 30 to 90 days because I'm not seeing many people on YouTube doing this. Now, again, this is a lot of leaps, a ton of speculation. I'm just trying to like think through it for myself, what I believe is going to happen. So keep that in mind, just for fun. Let me know in the comments what you think. First thing, oil is the root of all real power, and the whole supply of it in the Middle East is now up for grabs. And there's too much attention paid to the price of gas or the price of oil, but the price is a it's something people can follow, but it's really it's not it's surface. The real problem is that you have to have oil or you die. There's no superpower without oil in this modern world. Just like there's no superpower without coal when Britain ruled the empire, or there's no superpower without wood when Rome ruled the world. So you need to have a source of energy. Oil is it for today. So it drives everything. There's no way to just say, oh, well, we don't really need it. Anybody thinks renewables is going to take over. A whole long deep dive. I'm not going to go into it. I just want to say that I could not believe more strongly that you must have oil. Now, right now, China's getting it. Okay, so I'd say for the first prediction I'd have is that within 30 days, expect the first formal neutrality pact between a GCC, Gulf Coast country, member in Tehran, explicitly barring U.S. refueling operations for missions perceived as pro-Israel or offensive in nature. Iran has its foot on all the Gulf Coast countries' necks. And, they're going to have to make a deal with them, I think, personally. But, we'll see what happens. We'll just get to what, Anyway, I think that's going to happen. As I said up top, these are forever changes. We can't go back. So when the U.S. pulled out so what happens, the U.S. pulled out of the GCCs, believing it would be temporary because there would be a regime change in Iran. But, as I said, it's a great geopolitical blunder. In other words, the U.S. It told many of its troops go stay in a hotel. It took its ships out of the ports there. It basically just like everybody just went on vacation for a couple of days, believing how they could believe, I don't know, that somehow the U.S. there'd be regime change or whatever. I mean, nothing Israel says ever comes true, or the United States, or the CIA. I mean, these are companies that couldn't predict snow in the Arctic. Anyway, whatever. That's what they did. And there was no regime change. So Iran was able to significantly blind the U.S. bases in the region by taking out early warning radars and command and control. And you can see plenty of videos like that. Again, you might say, well, how did they get this billion-dollar radar system? Well, I mean, we were just that stupid. Like, okay, yeah, we're going to go stay in a hotel for a few days. And, once, the U.S. finishes off with Iran or just regime change, we'll come back. Even though everybody, at least I know what Iran's missile capabilities are, So it's just, again, historians are going to write about this like, they're just going to be scratching their heads. They're just not going to understand it. How analysts have been writing about this for, 47, 8 years, 47 years or whatever, saying this, especially lately about Iranians' missiles, which have proven very accurate, going 1,000 kilometers away to Israel. I mean, these bases in the Gulf Coast countries, I mean, they're literally over the water, like, I don't know, 100 miles away or something. So anyway, the U.S. lost its eyes on the region. So now, if the U.S. tries to land more troops in the GCCs, Iran will kill many of them with missiles and drones. Any effort by the United States to land planes in any of these Gulf Coast country airports, these airports will get attacked by Iran and people will die. That's why the U.S. hasn't done it yet, because now they're finally getting wise. Well, no, again, there are many people wise, but the Trump administration and whoever's behind all this, they've basically marginalized all these people, kept them out of the room. So the bottom line is the U.S. Navy can't get back into the Persian Gulf and protect the GCC rulers. So the clock is ticking. They're not going to do it with the Navy. I did a video about that yesterday. So no, is Navy ever going, as I said, the Navy's never going past the Hormuz Straits. Any idea that the Navy is going to sail into the Persian Gulf and protect these Gulf Coast? No, the Navy can't do it. The Air Force can do it, but it's going to take heavy casualties. Anyway, so the bottom line is the U.S. has effectively lost control of the Middle East for the foreseeable future. So the U.S. must get competent people soon. See, I'm sorry I'm rushing this. Nice typos. So if the U.S. doesn't regain control, it will lose the entire region to domestic opposition groups. Now, again, this is already happening. I say later, Bahrain will fall. Therefore, expect troops to start amassing in Saudi Arabia, which has the most oil and infrastructure to fight a long war with Iran. It also has bases much farther than the GCCs away from Iran. So they showed that troop ship coming up. Well, it's not going to go through the Strait of Hormuz, believe me. So I don't know if it'll go, and it's going to have trouble with Yemen going up the Red Sea. So I don't know how they're going to get them to Saudi Arabia, but I guess maybe they'll take Ospreys and they'll just make 100 flights and start piling soldiers into Saudi Arabia. That's my prediction. So I mentioned that the U.S. also has problems with taking the Middle East with Israel. But we'll get to that in a second. So here's a big thing, and I've been making this prediction, by the way, for a couple of years. Israel no longer wins the cost-benefit analysis to the United States, and I'll explain that. So whereas Israel used to be a benefit as a place of safe territory from which the U.S. could project power, it is now the unsafest territory, under attack from Iran, Yemen, and Hezbollah constantly. So remember, I forget who said it, some congressman or whatever said, yeah, Israel's like a permanent aircraft carrier in the Middle East for us. And that was great back then when nobody could get at the aircraft carrier, but they can now. I mean, Israel's hitting them every day, every night, whatever. So the U.S. doesn't have the resources to protect both Israel and retake the Middle East, or put troops into either the Persian Gulf or whatever. So I think that's just a fact to me, just a military fact. I'm not talking about whether you like Israel, don't like Israel, whatever you're going to think. The U.S. doesn't even have the people to protect the GCCs just right now. They lost that already. So now if they're going to start going back to it, all military people will say, hey, listen, we can't do both. We don't know if we can even do one, but we do know for sure we cannot do both. We cannot protect Israel. We cannot reassert any power in the Middle East. Another thing is that the even bigger drawback of Israel is that no soldier in the GCC will fight alongside Israelis. Israelis anywhere in the region with the U.S. will just invite people getting their throats cut at night. So it's just not going to happen. So, for example, Qatar cannot fight with the U.S. if Israel's involved. Israel burned that political bridge, I don't know, last year or whatever, by bombing that hotel or room that the Hamas guy was in. Anyway, again, Israel's done all these types of things. It's burnt so many bridges, and now Israel's going to need these bridges, and there's going to be so much Schadenfreude. Is that the word? Anyway, Iran won't negotiate with the U.S. until Israel's gone. This is going to be a permanent thing to keep in mind. Now, there are very strong connections between the U.S. and Europe with Israel mutual military interests. It's because they co-develop all these weapons together and blah, blah, blah. So tons of weapons together, shared intelligence, blah, blah, blah. But I would say it's not an exaggeration to say that except for Zionists and all these people in the military defense complex, everyone in the world hates Israel. It has no it's burnt. It gets burnt every bridge you can imagine politically. So there's no way anybody running for an office in any democracy is going to get votes if they support Israel in the future. That's just my belief. So what's coming soon? So when the stock market and dollar crashes in a way that really shocks everyone, it shocks them to the senses, I think Trump will be removed somehow. And then either Vance will be put on a short leash or he'll be out too. Netanyahu will also be gone somehow. And then Israel will fast track to civil war and breaking up or whatever that I believe for a while it's on its way. Bahrain will go down. I think that's one of my big predictions. The UAE will really try to broker a deal for neutrality because, none of these Gulf Coast states, we're at 2 weeks now. They're literally like their air is cut off. They can't sell oil. They cannot last very long. In America, you're like, oh yeah, they'll follow the war for a few weeks, few months, whatever. They won't last that long. They're being drowned. And I believe a lot of the rulers, a lot of the money is just fleeing the country, getting on these planes. And then all the people that are in opposition or, whatever, it's not going to be good. And, I think Kuwait will get spicy too. So, that's the last of my slides. So there you have it. I just want to make some predictions because I don't see anybody making predictions. So to get the thoughts rolling for people, to recap again, what we're living through is an event of such tremendous, catastrophic, life-changing consequences for the U.S. in a bad way. So I'd say the other biggest event in my life was the fall of the Soviet Union. But that was good for the United States. This is going to be a thing that's really bad for the United States. Again, I think Israel now is no matter how much there might be people in the United States who are like, yeah, we need Israel. The U.S. cannot afford it. I don't care how much if you're working in the defense industry or the CIA or intelligence or whatever. In the U.S., you're going to have to make your pick. Your money or the shekels, right? Which do you want? Which you can defend? You can't do both. Israel's no help here. How can they help us with the stuff we already give them, right? And they can't send their soldiers because the soldiers can't even get into Lebanon. Israel's saying now we're going to go into Lebanon, probably trying to say, hey, United States, we'll go with you and get the GC. Israel is done. The IDF is a joke. It has been a joke for 2 years. It's been trying to get rid of Hamas, and it has not. In a confined space, dropping 200 tons of explosives on top of them, it still has not done it. And people think that in 2 weeks, the U.S. is going to destroy industrial-grade tunnels in Iran, a country of 90 million people. Get my head explodes. But I want to get away from that again. These are my predictions. Put in the comments what you think. Hope you found this interesting. Thanks for watching.